release, and they would provide you just a template or a blank, and all you had to do is fill in your information and then mail it to the local paper. Well, when I got back, it doesn't matter whether we spend money in newspapers or not. Newspapers still print, and newspapers are still looking for information. They're looking for news that's interesting. Well, it's interesting when somebody comes back from auction school, and you can send your picture along with that news release to 10 or 15 newspapers at almost no cost. You can have that picture replicated at practically no cost. And then next thing you know, we had some kid came through here, and McKinney, Texas is probably one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. He was on the front page of the newspaper, and a big long story about him going to auction school. That's what you're wanting. And you guys are opening up an auction house. Yeah. You need that. You know, husband and wife team, you know, open auction house, return from America's Auction Academy, along that line.
Well, okay? and that's the other thing that I'm going to have in your packet on the last day. I'm going to have the template. I'm going to have a media release for you to use. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Very good.
Do you got anything else?
I'm afraid I'm going to forget this, so let me go ahead and say it instead of when we're finished. So this hotel does not have breakfast in the morning. If you want breakfast, you go over to the Holiday Inn Express. That's a sister property, and it's just right next door. Is that one?
Yeah, they came to us earlier and just said, here's the deal, guys. You know, because they just bought this property. They have food available over there. They just don't have anybody to prepare it over here. So they said, if you're staying here,
except on weekends.
Yeah, if you're staying here and you want to get the breakfast that you would get here, you can get it over there. So you just need to walk across the parking lot and have your breakfast over there.
They don't charge you or nothing like that?
It's the same thing.
It's continental.
It should be.
Continental.
Well, whatever they've been doing here, they're going to do over there.
Are y'all getting a Continental here?
No.
It's got.
There was this weekend,
We've been getting breakfast
this
here.
morning.
Yeah,
And they're not charging you?
No,
Okay.
they're not charging.
Yeah, and
That's it.
and she said, I said for free, and they said yes.
And they
Okay.
hired a bartender.
Right, I wish.
Sorry, I thought that's what continental meant, was free.
When we went down there, they
That
said.
means like.
That means like
muffins
muffins.
for free.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, well, I don't want to get into
Anyway,
breakfast.
Yeah, let's
Here's
roll.
what I want to get into. I want to get into auto auctions.
Let's get into auto auctions.
Guys, there's about
That
there's about 5 to 10 questions on your test about auto auctions. About 5 to 10 questions. You're going to want to, you don't want to fail this test. And he's going to cover it. So y'all need to listen to him.
All right, quick rundown about myself, because I am not an auctioneer like Doug Lambert or Wendy or Sherry Boo Sutton. I don't go to the auto auction to call bids. Have I? Absolutely. Remember one day I was on the phone, the AGM came to my office, actually he called me, and I sent him the voicemail. He called me again, sent him the voicemail. Third time he walked in my office, he took the phone out of my ear, and he slammed it down on the receiver and says, I need you in lane 4 now. Well, apparently we had a Nissan factory sale that day, and we didn't have an auction. So sometimes you just get thrusted into positions, done a little bit of brake relief, maybe an auctioneer's throat's going raw and going dry or something like that. But at the end of the day, that's not what I do for Mannheim Auctions. Mannheim's parent company is, for those of you, I saw a few in Kansas, I don't know about the Virginia area, but you ever heard of Cox Communications, the cable company? Yeah. Right, so that's another subsidiary of Cox Enterprise, and then you have Cox Automotive, which the only thing I know of comes to mind that you would know from the Cox Automotive side is Auto Trader.
Yeah.
Remember with this? And then there's under the Cox Enterprise umbrella, there's about 120 companies. And they're involved in a lot of different things that I never knew of before I went to go work for the company out of Atlanta. But we're in a lot of movie production business and things like that. I can't remember if it was Hogan's Heroes or Gomer Pyle or something like that. At the end of that broadcast, you know, they show all the credits and you're usually turning it off. Some of y'all are looking at me like, who? What TV show is that? What? Black and White? What? Phil, when were you born? But anyways, there's some credits on there from Cox Enterprise, and I just never knew that before. From my standpoint, I sold cars at the auction for about 10 years. This was before Al Gore invented the internet. It's probably about the time Doak was using those slides, right? And but I traveled probably anywhere from 60 to 100,000 miles a year. I was traveling a circuit of auctions and selling cars for a major rental car company, Hertz Corporation. That's what I did. Through the course of all that, at some point I was asked, I don't know, 2 or 3 times if I wanted to come work for Mannheim. I told them no a couple of times. The third time, let's see, we got married in 96. So in 98, January 5th of 1998, I got scheduled for an interview with some RVP with Mannheim. My wife was, this was our first daughter. She was about 8 months pregnant. And when I left the house that day, she says, "You're not changing insurance. You're not changing doctors. You're not changing jobs. You're not changing careers," right? And I was like, "Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." I went, had a conversation with this RVP, and there's a little bit of a salesman in me. There's a lot of salesman. But I knew that I couldn't take the job. I thought it was a hell of a time to ask for something that I knew they would never give me, right? Like, it's going to take this much money, and I need these side perks, right? And he countered, but not too far from what I asked. And then I went, damn, I hate to turn that down. So anyways, I finally got to the part where I said, look, at that time I didn't know I was having a daughter. We were going to be surprised. I said, hey, my wife's due in February. I can't come work for you till March. Now, this is January the 5th. And he goes, okay, we'll wait on it. Went back home that night. She goes, you didn't get that job, did you? I said, no, I did not get that job until March. So Madison was born on the 24th of February, and I started March the 10th. And they put me in as a factory manager there. You see 1998, 1999. They also had me over transportation at the time, which I probably was the least qualified person. But I just have this intuitive ability to look at processes. I'm a process guy. I can't walk into a fast food restaurant and look at where the cups are and where you get your refills and where you get your salt and your pepper and stuff like that without looking at the process and thinking that, if they just did this, they'd have a better efficiency. But anyways, I jumped in, factory manager, back in 98, 99, fleet lease manager. So the factory manager is all your OEMs, your Ford, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Infiniti, Hyundai, Kia, anybody that's manufactured building cars, right? I switched over to fleet lease in 99, did that for 4 years. That's anybody that writes paper on cars. That's an end-of-term lease, it's a repo, it's your program cars with the rental car accounts, it's your fleet companies, right? You got city utility company and they have a fleet of trucks, and then there's leasing companies that get in between you and them, so you work through the leasing companies to bring you product. I will tell you, back in 99 to 2003, we were probably running anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 vehicles a week. Fleet lease sales manager. So that was a great job. Traveled the company on Mannheim's dime. It was really just either taking the business we have and growing it, or finding business that we didn't have those at a competitor's auction and trying to get it in our doors. It was a great job. I was really successful at it, but it's not a good job for a married man with then now 2 daughters. And so talking with my wife, thought it'd be a great idea if I came off the road. TRA manager. Anybody have a clue what TRA is? You go to totalresourceauctions.com. So it is essentially a marketed sale under Mannheim for damaged and disabled cars. Parts recyclers, rebuilders, things of that nature. I had a blast. Being the TRA manager. So it didn't exist here in Texas. They asked me to go out to Phoenix, Arizona to look at one. That was the first one they started. And they asked me to come back to Texas and duplicate it. Had a blast doing that in 2005, 2006. Commercial operations manager, yay, fun, outside, parking cars, getting them detailed, moved, things of that nature. Commercial manager back, so they kind of redefined the term of fleet lease manager. So commercial manager and fleet lease manager is almost synonymous. They just combine fleet lease with factory. Arbitration is just a lovely thing. So when we sell a car, the seller has certain disclosures depending on how they represent their car in a green light, a red light, yellow light, things of this nature, right? We'll get into the lights here in a little bit. But if a buyer feels like the seller didn't disclose it properly, it goes to arbitration. And most people would hate arbitration. Someone always loses, it's kind of like the theory. My goal was to try to make it a win-win. And I met a lot of good friends through arbitration, but essentially it was just trying to take the buyers and sellers and get them to an agreement. Both of them want the auction to make an adjustment to make it happen. But of course our job is to keep that deal together and make money. Something really odd happened in 2015. they asked me to go over security. The AGM at the time, Antoine Cleaver, I was on a golf cart with him, just riding out on the lot, and he said he was having trouble finding a security manager. And I said, well, you know, why don't you repost it, and why don't you try these different channels, gave him some ideas. He had 182 people apply, and later on I'm asking him how that project's going, and I was being a little bit of a smart butt, and I said, any of them better than me. I don't really have an ego, I swear. But that was my comment to him. The next day, he calls me in the office. He goes, hey, you made a comment to me on the golf cart about any of them being better than you. He says, I don't need law enforcement. I don't need security background. I need someone that understands processes. Someone that can put processes together and hold people accountable and put people in the right position to make sure it all happens. So that's what that was about. I went to security in 2015. It was just for Mannheim, Dallas. And then that changed. You can see the gap there. In 2018, I went to work for Cox Enterprise. That's the parent company in Mannheim. Long story short, took over the state of Texas, with the exception of our El Paso location. It also includes Ray Logistics, our transportation side of it. Has to do with Next Gear Financial. I deal with a lot with cyber attacks, online fraud, sales, things of this nature. It's just a long ways from where my roots came from. But not a lot of that pertains to what you are here for, but I just want to kind of give you my background on it. Pretty much wear a lot of tactical gear, work with law enforcement, and work with a lot of IT people to try to prevent things. Wrapping up a 14-month investigation on some online fraud, and we go as a federal trial out of Fort Worth, and we go to trial here, I think, by March. So, yay. All right, let's focus on auto auctions. So we have about 5 sales a week at Mannheim, Dallas, and this looks really small up here at the top of the screen, but that's the arena. This is the front dealer parking lot, and then everything on this side. I'm gonna try to come around here like this, but all those cars, that's the 4,000 plus cars that are going to go across the sale lanes. It's a bit of an organized chaos, but all these cars here pull out down the main drive. They go down here and they get spread out over these lanes. They come out the other side, and then they all circulate back up this guardrail, back over here, and then some of them, you know, cut in when they get to back to their spot. Some of them have to come all the way back around, get parked, and then go back down again. But it's a heck of an operation. It's, I like to call it controlled chaos. This is an entrance for our cars. This is off of Loop 12. It's where all the vehicles come in. We do what's called an electronic condition report. We indicate everything we know about that car in terms of its cosmetics. It'll go through a photo booth here, and we actually have the camera on the ground taking a picture of the bottom. Look for anything from structural unibody damage to missing catalytic converters, anything that might catch our attention on the bottom. Everything is videotaped and photoed, in which case, just depending on the client, depending on what we got going on, they may go for a certification. We try to pre-sale certify the cars. So much of our business is online now that we want the buyers to have confidence that the drivetrain is good, right? We're going to talk about drivetrains here a little bit. But if we can do a pre-sale certification on that car, we'll try to do that and charge the seller. And if they choose not to make that part of their agreement with us, then as soon as the car is purchased, any buyer can ask for a post-sale inspection. We have like 7 and 14-day inspections where we guarantee them. So anyways, that's the post-2 area where all the cars come in. Moving right on ahead, storage lots, just reconditioning shop. So reconditioning has a tremendous amount of revenue for Mannheim. Down here we got some body shops where cars get conventional body shop repair. They'll come over and head over here to a paint shop. We also have about 20 mechanics on our shop. We only have 8 bays. Most of our mechanics work out of pickup trucks out on the lot. When you're dealing with repos, you're talking about linkages, alarms, things like that. A lot of stuff is just tires, wheels, things like that. Anything that's heavy engine, transmission, or whatever will go actually in the shop. We have 7 lanes of detail. We're detailing about 400 cars a day. They typically work at this location, Mannheim, Dallas. They're working 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. The overnight shift working 10 p to 6 a is off on Friday and Saturday nights. But if you show up there at 3 o'clock in the morning, this place will look like someone stepped on an anthill. They just constantly detailing and working on cars. Transport lots, this is outside our security fenced area. Our perimeter is by guardrail. We have electric fence, we have razor wire fence, barbed wire, and then we have smart cameras to detect motion. Most of our channels, this is a drainage ditch for water, and then we got our transport lots. We still have a lot of concerns about the cars out in the transport lot, but that's outside the wire. This is an area we call a sold lot highline sale. We do 2 sales a year, what we call it the 100 grander sale. Every car in the sale will be over 100,000. And then once a month we run a highline sale where our target price is about 70,000. It's just, I don't know. This looks like a line of cars that's coming in. This is pretty standard. We accept cars 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at this particular location. It's just another vehicle entry area, another transport lot. Cars coming in, entering, staging them here. But when you're processing 4,000 cars a week, little Tuesday highline sale.
Where do you get all the cars from?
So we source our cars. Earlier you heard me talk about being a fleet lease manager, commercial accounts manager. So your manufacturers are going to be able to provide you cars either through, sometimes they get damaged in assembly, they're called a class 2. Sometimes they get damaged in transport, it's called a class 1. It's like a brand new car, but it got damaged. They had to put like some paint on it so that they can't sell it as a brand new car. Typically, they turn into test drive cars or cars, loaner cars while your car's in the shop. And then they'll sell it as a used vehicle. They also provide end-of-term leases. Leasing is not big here in Texas, but it's huge in other markets. You go up into the Northeast and just one captive might have 20,000 leases. They can't saturate the market with 20,000 leases with just one captive, so they have to spread it out. And so they're going to ship these cars out. And Texas sometimes, we can be a great market for certain clients, and then we can be a less than great market. Give you an example. We do really well with like Piis, Hyundais. We do really well with Nissans, and Fords, and Chevys, and things like that. But we're not that great at being a Subaru location. We're just not all-wheel drive country here. You got to ship them to Colorado, Pennsylvania, Alaska. You got to get them in markets where they do better. So, again, let me get out of this thing.
Only dealers can bid on your stuff, or is it open to the public?
We are a dealer-only location. We have a couple of locations that we signed a contract, sadly, with the government, GSA sales. In the state of Ohio requires repos to be sold with the offering to the public as well. So in Ohio, our auctions there sell to the public for that particular sale. Let's see if I can get another PowerPoint going here. What's that?
How hard is it to get a dealer's license?
Oh, I really don't want the music. That's kind of, where am I? Anyways, just a quick tour of the auction. This is Mannheim, Dallas. We have 70 locations in the United States. I wish I could put this on 2x speed, but this is the front dealer parking lot where all the pretty trees are. That's the main entrance there. Just kind of showing where our dealers come in the morning. I want to get back to the question of where the cars come from.
Place is huge.
We're 260 usable acres at this particular location. This is all storage lots for cars. Typically, everything here we're trying to get across the creek to the next week's sale, and then everything coming in the entrance comes down and fills in the storage lots. But yeah, this is our area fluctuate between. We've gotten down as low as 7,000-8,000 cars, and as high as 20,000 cars. But it's these are over here is the mechanic shops. Over here is the paint booths. Get over here is the detail shop I was telling you about. This is one of the photo booths where they come out of detail and make a U-turn and take photos of them, do a kind of a 360 view on the interior as well as the exterior for all our biddings. That's the sale arena. We'll have 26 auctioneers going at one time here. This is, I don't know, this looks like a highline sale of some sort. This is not the 100 grander. This looks like one of the highline sales. where we're trying to sell cars over 60,000.
These
at
are
that.
all
Look
used
at that.
cars
Yeah,
and
it's a
confused.
nice, everything.
Look at that,
everything
it's like a
sells is
freaking
used
blower.
cars.
All used cars.
Yeah.
And this is like current inventory?
Well, whenever I took this video,
That
it's
Lambo.
not as old as Doak's video, I'll tell you that. But.
Well, you know how everybody's talking about how there's a
This is probably 3 or 4
shortage.
years old.
Okay.
This is an amateur drone pilot.
Corvette.
I think I just took it out of the box a
G-Wagon
week
is in
prior. You can tell by those flags blowing it, the wind was gusting pretty good.
So I guess I'm confused. How do y'all get the cars?
So he asked the same question, how do we get the cars? So if you're a bank, if you're anyone that writes paper, loans on cars, right?
Okay,
You're gonna deal with repos. You also have end-of-term leases. You go lease a car,
right,
and at the end of 3 years, they do a great job of trying to keep you in the car,
right,
right? And if you choose not to keep the car,
correct.
the people that leased it to you don't want it. So they
Okay.
send it to us.
Oh,
So we also have repos. If you're a major bank or even a small little credit union, you've got to find a way to go, hey, I didn't make my payment for whatever reason. The government was giving me $35,000 a year, but I didn't make my payment.
that was a good
That was a
joke.
bad joke.
I appreciate it.
Anyways, the repo is going to come to us. because
Okay.
The bank wants to liquidate the car, change it back into cash, right? They got 15,000 out on it. They want to recoup their 15,000. Only way they can do that is send it to an auction and liquidate it.
And the cars are auctioned and going to only dealerships.
We're a dealer-only sale here. We have a couple out of the 70 auctions that we have some public auctions due to
Where you
state
can
laws.
go and buy a car.
Yeah. Like I said,
Wow,
Ohio
okay, so there's
requires-
that many repos out
They're
there?
not all
Oh,
repos. So
there's
we have
lease
rental
terms.
fleets,
Lots of
Right.
lots of lease?
All right.
a lot of lease, a lot of repos, a lot of fleet companies, a lot of rental car companies. And then you
Oh,
have all the dealer traffic. So let's say you're a Ford dealership,
okay,
right? And I show up one day with my cash for clunker car, right? I show up in my $800 mosquito fogging, junker.
okay,
But I'm gonna buy me a brand new Ford pickup truck,
right,
okay? So they say, well, we'll give you $800 for your clunker. I
Right.
said, all right, great, that's $700 more than I thought you were gonna give it to me for. Now I drive away in my Ford.
right.
They don't want that car.
It
That
goes
goes
to
to the auction.
you.
Yeah. Now, you also have, most dealerships are on a floor plan or on some type of structure where they're gonna use the money to buy cars and sell them, right? But sometimes they just get stuck with something. Maybe they just get stuck with it. But most dealerships are on like a 45-day term, maybe a 60-day term, 35-day term. But whatever their business model is, they're gonna keep all those cars out there and keep trying to turn those inventories. But if they get stuck with a few that they can't sell, they're gonna send it back to the auction, get rid of it, and find out what does sell. There's a lot of data today, a lot of software today with these dealerships that tells them what they're making money on, what's not making their money on. Behind the scenes, Manheim's heavily involved in that type of data-driven stuff. Every car sold goes into what's called the Manheim Market Report.
Okay,
We can do it by national or regional level or even a state level. So if you took a car, say 2017 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, crew cab, four-wheel drive, white and colored.
okay,
You could go in there and you can search all those trucks that sold in the last 30 days or 60 days or year to date, whatever you want. Usually you're looking for current market data, right? And see what the Manheim Market Report is to see what those dealers are selling for.
but, because then you're at the dealership and you're wanting to know what they actually paid for the car versus what they're marking it up as?
No, it's for the dealers to use the market report to see what they want to buy.
The public can't see that.
Right. No, the retail public can. Yes, sir.
Alright, so where,
Well,
when the
it has to be
dealership
called.
buys that junker off them and then calls you, do you pay them for that car what they paid for it, or do you wait till it goes to auction and they get it, whatever?
Maybe I missed, maybe
Like, are they consignment or?
No, these are only dealers can buy from them.
yeah, this is a dealer-only sale.
This is, a lot of us in here have
So
no
whatever
idea about
dealers-
this
I'm talking
business.
about my trade-in. Dealers take a trade-in all the time,
Right,
okay? Insurance companies. So my GMC is actually in the shop right now getting fixed for some hail repair from last year, right? My daughter's car, which I'm driving today, and then my truck got into a hailstorm. At some point, they come back to you and they say, hey, my truck was valued too high, so it was $8,000 in hail. They were just either gonna fix it or write me a check. On my daughter's car, they gave me a choice. They could have the car and write me a check, or they could fix the car, okay? If they take possession of the car, the insurance company doesn't need it. Allstate doesn't want a car. What they want is the cash back out of it.
yeah.
right? So if they paid me X number of dollars for the car, now they want to take that car to an auction and sell it so they can recoup some of their money.
Got it.
Does that make sense? Same thing with a trade-in. It's just a place for dealers to take vehicles and/or fleet companies, or
But so essentially they're consignment.
they are consignments. Every
Yeah,
last single one of
that's
them.
what the transaction was toward. I was
In my
trying to
mind, I'm
understand.
wondering how we keep them in order of like when it's in the parking lot and what car is coming next into.
A lot of employees,
That's
a lot.
Or
It's
software.
just like your rental car, you know, you go to rent a car, they got a barcode and that's how they can track it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
told you I was a process guy, right?
Yeah.
So when I was in operations, the whole idea was how many times can we get away with moving these cars the least number of times?
Yeah.
From the point they enter to the point they exit, right? And so those are the type of things that I look at. If we can do the inspection, the cosmetic inspection and the mechanical evaluation right when they arrive versus drive them over here to have a CR writer, condition work writer, and then drive them over here to have a mechanic look at it. I'm going to have a mechanic take it over to the paint and body shop because it got approved, right? And we were doing like 15 moves per car, and the goal was to cut it in half and get it down to 7. So those are the type of things. But I want to get back on how did this all start, right? How did this all start? And I was actually shocked to find out the answer about this. But in the 30s, our good friend, Henry Ford, had no clue he was doing this, but he was leasing cars. And I hope you like the color black, because that's what the model came in. But in the 30s, he started leasing cars, and he was taking these cars back. And guess what? He had to liquidate them. And that's really where the car auctions, I'm not going to say they gave birth because they were around prior to that, but that's where they really grew legs and learned to walk and run. Okay, it started in the 30s with leasing with the, I think they've come out with something after the Model T by then, but he was certainly selling cars.
Yeah, in the 30s, it would have been the Roadster, what was it,
Could have had a few different models by then. So that's where the leasing in the auction started. We talk about type of auctions. The one I just showed you with Manheim Dallas is a dealer only. Most Manheim sales are dealer only. There are public auctions. Mike hadn't told you, if anybody in this area ever heard of Right Off the Car, Not the Kid, Texas Can Academies. Mike called me one day and he says, hey, can you come out here and look at this auction with you? And I said, well, it might be a conflict of interest with my company being an auto auction, but let me get something cleared through our legal and HR. And so they ended up clearing it, and I went out as a consultant, right? And Mike and I worked that event, I think, about 11 years. We were selling cars for them. But that was a public auction, right? That's one where anybody can show up, get registered, and be a buyer. I think they had some restrictions, like you had to be over 18 and things like that. But there'll be independent operators. Manheim is privately owned. There are other auto auction houses. I think you're going to the one in Louisville. That is actually owned by, I'm not drawing a blank. They're an automotive group. They own a lot of dealerships. Van Tile. It's owned by the Van Tile group. Good group of people, good outfit. I'm a little jealous about the auction in Louisville. They got some of the best granite and marble in the bathrooms I've ever seen at an auto auction. They've got a nice setup. Corporately owned auctions, and then you have facilities vary just depending on size of operation, and that is absolutely true. We opened up a sale back in the early 2000s up in Oklahoma City. A buddy of mine, Wayne Carey, ran it. Great guy. He had 10 acres. He had 10 acres when we started that thing. And so he could, it was like the employees needed to park across the street on the side of the road just to make room for the dealers coming. But I would feed him cars. It was like a little satellite. It's like think of it as a church plant. You know, you got the church, and they're going to do a church plant out here in this little small community. So it was like an auction plant. But I used to call, I used to travel and meet all the manufacturers. I'd call friends out on the West Coast and say, hey, can we ship a truckload of Pii Is up to Oklahoma City? I need to support a truckload of Hyundais and a truckload of Chryslers. You know, you should just truckload them up there and keep him fed and keep him happy. But really small auction. Our biggest one is in Manheim, PA. It is about 600 acres. They have, let's see, the last time I was up there was probably 10 years ago. I think they were up to about 36 or 38 lanes. About 38 lanes. It's just a huge facility. Where we were selling 5,000 cars a week, they were selling 10,000 cars a week. Just a really big outfit. Auctioneers, how many auctioneers work a large auction versus a smaller auction? It's going to vary. The general manager running the store is going to determine that. Sometimes you're it. I mean, sometimes you're it. There's not a break relief person. Remember I told you earlier, sometimes I'll get a call and go, hey, can you be on lane 14? Joey's going horse. He's got about 25, 30 cars and his voice is going. All right, I'll go down there and sell 30 cars. It's not what I do for a living, but I'll go down there and do it just to get them through the end of the sale. Some locations have a break relief person. Those are more and more rare these days. How long does an auctioneer work? That's a great question.
Till the end.
Yeah, till the end.
Yeah.
Listen, and lanes are different. If you're in a rental car lane, right, they're all current model year, right? Maybe there's 50 Toyota Camrys we're about to line up and bring in there. Typically, they're all the same model year. They're rental cars. They all got about the same number of miles. So I'm going to sell these rental cars, these Toyota Camrys. They're all between 25 and 35,000 miles on the odometer. At this point, we're talking about door dings and license plate hex on the bumpers, the way they park them at the airport, right? They open up that door and put a ding in it. They stop 2 inches past the bumper of the one in front of them. If you ever look at these rental cars, I mean, that's how they're lined up. But anyways, I know those Camrys are going to bring, say, between 15.2 and 15.8. Okay? And you get someone up there like Sherry Boo Sutton that can sell. I've yet to see anybody fire away as much as Sherry Boo Sutton. There's a lot of damn good auctioneers at our place, but I'm just going to use her as the example because she was selling these. But she could probably run at a pace of about 120 an hour, right? We're talking about 30 seconds, put it on the money and sell it. Put it on the money or no sell it. Just put it on the money. Because we don't have to find the money. We already know that market on that Camry is 15.2 to 15.8, depending on miles and how many little door dings you got in it, right?
Do they do choice on those? Like I go to a lot of farm auctions. They have like three
items.
S590 Bobcats.
Yeah.
They'll just do choice to get them through fast.
We've done that. Not at Manheim. Done some crazy things at Manheim, but we don't do that. But about the closest, well, it wasn't even choice though. We loaded up at a factory sale. We loaded 9 cars on a truck and said we got free transportation to the buyer of that truck of cars. So we sold it for about $150,000, found out what state and city this truck needs to go to, went out and gave the paperwork to the truck driver, and he beat the guy bidding on the cars home. It's just, we sold about a truckload of times.
Right.
But let me get focused back. Some lanes are going to run over 100 an hour. Some lanes are going to have just every vehicle's different. Different year, different make, different condition. And you're going to have to find the money. You're not going to know the money on it's 15.2 to 15.8. You're going to sell a pace of about 40 to 50 cars an hour. Okay? So things run, so it says how long will an auctioneer work? Someone said till they're done, and that's true. But you may have 300, 400 cars lined up in one lane, only 200 in the other, and they're probably going to end about the same time because you're not matching apples for apples.
Do y'all try to put the same vehicles together though?
No.
No? Like you're not putting all the Range Rovers
No.
together, okay.
No. We're client driven. We're client driven. JP Morgan Chase Bank decided they were going to run cars at Manheim, Dallas. They had one ask. I want to run 30 cars deep in the sale. What do you think I said?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
No
sir.
problem. Been holding that spot for you. Right? But we're not going to mix JP Morgan Chase Bank cars up with Bank of America
Okay, so those
and
are,
Wells Fargo and the other clients,
those
right?
are all client,
So,
okay.
yeah, we're client driven. We're going to look
Got
at client by the client, right?
that makes sense.
I'm trying to think who Doak sells for. Doak sells for Sewell. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he sells for Sewell. We'll line up 200 Sewell cars. And the Sewell rep, great guy, Jonathan, he has his way of lining up his inventory. Kind of has this best to worst type thing. And you can kind of see the demographics, whether it be online or in front of you. You can kind of see it change. But we're not putting anybody and mixing them in with the Sewell folks. Vehicle check-in. Let me go back up here. We're in the Auctioneer. Right now I was talking to some folks with COVID and everything going on online. Manheim took a stance. It's not one I like. And Doak actually flew to Atlanta to represent a committee because they took a stance that they weren't going to use the ringing in the lanes. Okay?
Oh, yeah, Sherry was saying that.
It doesn't make me proud to tell you that, but good, bad, or indifferent, you get the truth. That's where we stand today, and we're trying to get that back, and we'll hope that we can get past this buyers and put dealers back in the lane like it used to be. But at the moment, that's where it's at. Career opportunities, absolutely.
Right now, is it a good time to get a job here with Manheim?
Well, I think just the auction industry in general, the segment's kind of changed because a lot of ringmen will cut their teeth being a ringman, and then maybe they're going to rerun 50 cars. They'll put the ringman up and sell those 50 cars, get some experience or something, right? There was an opportunity for ringmen to kind of step into that position of being an auctioneer. Without the ringman, we just have our auctioneers. And at this point, trying to hire someone in that you haven't been able to test drive, haven't been able to see or something like that, my suggestion is that you don't go from here into a Manheim auction. You go from here and get some experience, and then work with people that work at the auto auctions if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Let me keep moving here.
Okay.
Vehicle check-in. I cannot emphasize how important this is. How many Chevy people we got in here? Oh, kind of a winky representation. How many Chevy people we got? There we go. How many Ford people we got? All right, I'll go with the Ford example. I'll drive a GM. I want to go with the Ford example. Right? You get a Ford F-150 that comes in the gate, right?
Ranch, baby.
Your check-in person better be spot on. Okay?
Okay.
Is it an XL base model? Crank windows, right? My daughter said, Dad, why do you say roll up the windows? She's never seen a roll up window. Maybe a base model 5-speed stick, right? It might have one bench seat, pleather, nice word for vinyl. It may be a King Ranch, right? Might be two-wheel drive, could be four-wheel drive. Could be a crew cab, could be an extended cab. Could be a regular cab, right? Could have maybe it has a 5.3, well, I got the Ford, it's a 5.3. What's Ford, like a 5.7?
5.4 for gas.
5.4 for gas, and I think they make a smaller V8, I think it's like a 4.6 or 4.8 or something like that, right? You better get this stuff right. We're
That's
selling
true,
cars
huh?
online.
Yeah.
I got buyers all over the country and exporters shipping them across the world. How would you like to be 2,000 miles later, get the truck somewhere, and it's not that King Ranch, it's the base model. Only about a $25,000 difference maybe on the book, right?
Yeah.
Your vehicle check-in person has to be spot on. They have to know what they're doing. They have to. You don't. If it starts off wrong, it just goes bad from there. Signed a run number. Typically a lane number and what run number's going from there. Registration forms. This is all gone digital now. Information: your year, make, and model, your series, your equipment, your mileage. Let's talk about mileage, because a lot of vehicles have what?
Electronic.
They have electronic, but what can you get? Other than the odometer, when you get the reading on there, what else can you get? Hours. What else? Trip miles. What else? Kilometers.
Yeah.
Right?
Right?
Your check-in person better know what's going on.
Oh,
They
yeah,
can mess
okay.
you up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about vehicle representative. Probably one of the most important people at an auto auction. You got to have someone representing that vehicle. I will tell you, we have reps on the block, right? The gentleman from Sewell, Jonathan, he's on that block. He's saying sell it, don't sell it, counterbid, whatever he's doing. He's giving dope direction. He's saying what we're going to do with that vehicle. Okay? In today's world, we have a lot of what we call absentee sellers. They're actually online. They may be in Arizona, maybe in California, maybe in New York or Florida, right? They're online. So that auctioneer is selling. 21, what do you get 2, what do you get 3, 2, 3, what do you get 4, and 2,400, and I'm tapped out at 2,300. That auctioneer is looking at the screen because the absentee seller is communicating to the auctioneer if they want to sell it, or maybe, and we have like you press this one button and it kind of prints out a lot of stuff like the speed text, but it'll say it takes 2,800. Auctioneers at 2,300, right? But you're getting that same communication as though the vehicle representative was on the block. You might want to know that. Okay? Now what do? We're at 2,300, it takes 28.
You can bump it up.
What are we going to do?
You bid the minimum.
Right?
bid
I may
the
look at
reserve.
that buyer, and I go, hey, we're at 23, it takes 28 today. Now, invariably, he'll count it.
Okay.
He'll say 24.
And you're like, no.
Like, sir, it takes 28 today. Now, professional buyers in the lane, professional auctioneers, they get a feel for the seller representatives, the ones that, when they say it's 28, it's 28. Like, they're like, yes, no, or whatever. If
Yeah.
it's another seller representative where they give and take and want to play cards all day, then yeah, we'll do that too. But at the end of the day, we got our seller representative, and you need to know that. Vehicle representative. Vehicle subject to a call, also known as an if bid or a will call. What's that mean? Say I'm at 2,800, and I need 3,500 for the car.
They'll sell it and they'll call the guy later, and if it's okay,
I'm
it's
not gonna
sold.
sell it. They want 3,500 for the car. I'm only at 2,800.
And you're not gonna sell it.
Well, I wanna sell it. That's how I make my money. I make buy fees and sell fees at an auction house. No sales don't typically make me a lot of money.
Right.
And it costs a lot of labor to get ready for sale and moving that car around, right? I wanna sell the car. So one of the things we can do is sell it on a call, right? If I don't have that vehicle representative ready, maybe it's a little small credit union or something like that, I'm gonna put it on call. Every auction house is a little bit different. For us, it's on a call till 5 o'clock sale day. We're gonna take that if bid, that will call, and we're gonna run that paperwork inside. We're gonna call that credit union, email that credit union, whatever their form of communication is, and we're gonna try to see if we can sell that car. Maybe the credit union comes back and says it takes 32. Now we gotta get back to the dealer,
Oh, God.
right? And it's conditional, but that's how we make our money. We try to put together those cars. All right, the light system. Let's talk about lights. It's a little bit different around the country, but there's 5 lights. You may go to some places, there's only 4 lights, but there's 5 lights. First one is a green light. Green light, ride and drive. What does that mean?
It works.
It works.
Yeah.
Smoking out the back like a mosquito fiber and dragging the headlights, but it works. I ain't making fun, I'm having
No,
fun.
I get you.
Anybody else? Green light, ride and drive.
It's been inspected.
It's been inspected. Well, that's good. Do we know what the inspection looks
No
like?
obvious flaws, right? It's
No
just green.
obvious flaws. All right, let me speed up time here for you. So back when I started selling cars, there was two rules. If you're over 18 and 90 pounds, you own it. You had 2 federal laws that had to do with the title and odometer, right? You could remember those 4 rules. You pretty much understood the auto auction business. Today, and you can go to the NAAA.org, that's the National Auto Auction Association.org, and look up under the resources, the arbitration policies. They're about 20 pages, fine print, front and back, and got insane in there, okay? It's just gone insane. In fact, you can sell a car as is, no arbitration, and still arbitrate. Doesn't that sound crazy?
Crazy.
It's crazy. So anyways, the green light ride and drive has a lot of parameters about it, but the main thing is, in an auto auction, it has to do with the drivetrain, what makes the vehicle go forward and backwards, right? So you got on a front wheel drive, you got a transaxle and an engine. On a rear wheel drive, you got your engine and your rear differential. On a four wheel drive, you'll have a transfer case and 2 differentials, front and rear, right? And then we get to talk about electric cars. This gets more, if it causes the vehicle to roll forward and backwards, that's the powertrain of it. That's what the green light ride and drive is. Yellow announcements or defects, otherwise known as like a caution light. Or if you're in the car with my wife, it means hit the gas, it's about to turn red. Okay? What's that yellow light mean?
Has defects.
Yellow light at an auto auction, what's it mean?
Oh, there's defects.
There's defects. It could be about the car. Like, hey, green light ride and drive, overdrives out. Green light ride and drive, get a lot of repos with this. Green light ride and drive, no reverse. Repo man drag it, took the reverse gear out of it, right? Green light ride and drive, rear differential noise. Green light ride and drive, got some lifter noise. Green light ride and drive, they're telling you we inspected the vehicle to her point, and this is what we found. The rest of the car is solid, but you need to know about this. This is what we found. Fair enough? The green light may have, or the yellow light may have something to do with the history of the car. Maybe it's a theft recovery, okay? According to those NAAA guidelines, at 20 pages of fine print, you have to announce certain things if you're going to sell a green light ride and drive. One of those things might be a theft recovery history. One of it might have something to do with a color change up to 4 model years of age, with the current model year being year 1. So if I had this white car, and someone decided they wanted to make it green, right? I'd have to announce that color change. Okay? Maybe it's got structural damage or unibody damage. It's got some type of frame damage. It's been in some type of collision. And its structural integrity of the vehicle is no longer what it once was in case it was involved in an accident. We will announce structural damage. Okay? That the yellow light can also have to do with the title. Right? Green light ride and drive on the car, but hey, caution, got a salvage title. Hey, green light ride and drive on the car, but the title indicates not actual miles, true miles unknown. You with me? So that yellow light can have something to do with the history of the car as it stands, or the title. The red light, as is. Now, it used to mean as is.
What's
For the
it
sake
mean
of
now?
this class and the test, red light is an as-is. There may be other disclosures that are still necessary with that as-is description. You got a blue light. I told you earlier, we export a lot of cars that go out of this country. They go down to the Port of Houston, they go to the Port of New Jersey, they're headed to a port and heading out of here, right? So to book your vehicle at a port, this isn't something you do like scheduling your birthday and reservations at a restaurant for next week. They have to book these things out in advance. And they want to know if there's a title because they can't export it without the title. There's other reasons why they want to know about a title. Now, I'm going to tell you, a lot of dealers ignore this, but in the state of Texas, it's illegal to sell cars from a dealership to a retail customer without the title. I'm going to tell you right now, dealers do it all the time. They buy the cars, they put it on the lot. Money is time, time is money, and the retail customer comes up and says, I'm interested in that car. Well, we'll be happy to sell it, right? But they don't have the title yet.
So then how does the customer get the title?
Well, they're going to put it on a 45-day paper tag. And again, in the state of
Oh,
Texas, you can
gotcha.
print 2 of those. That buys you 90 days.
Gotcha.
The arbitration policy for Manheim is that the seller has 22 days, 22 business days, essentially 1 month, to produce a good negotiable title to the buyer. But you want to talk about arbitration where you got a person that's in a retail in a car, and the seller says, hey, I can't get the title, just give me the car back.
What?
And that's how arbitrations occur involving retail. But I don't want to go down that road right now, but
All right.
I'll just tell you why we want to disclose if we have the title or not. It's important that they know if the title is in-house or not. Subject seller's confirmation, time of year. Time of year. It can mean not only summer and winter, but it might also mean fuel prices, right? A few years back, gas shot up to what? Depending on where you're at in the country, $4 a gallon, $3, $4, $5 a gallon, depending on where you're at. If you're out in California, maybe $7. What do you think happened to the B10s and B8s? Right? What do you think happened to the hybrids and Priuses of the world? Just shot through the roof. I had buddies of mine out of Oklahoma. They were buying trucks hard and fast. I had one guy, I think he bought 100 trucks in 2 weeks. I said, Steve, you expecting it to come back? He goes, oh yeah, these things are just cheap. Well, it took about 6 months. And man, gas came back down to some record lows. Guess what? He's sitting on 100 trucks up north of the Red River. Just ready to sell them, and prices went back the other way. Time of year, importance of percentage of sales completed. Obviously, we're there to sell cars, not practice running them across the block. So we want high percentage sellers. We talked about earlier about how do you line up your lineup, right? Like how do you do your sale? Well, I don't want someone that sells 20% kicking off my sale. I want someone that sells 80, 90% of my cars to kick off my sale, right? Of course, you got a guy in the back going, I'm only selling 20% because you put me here in the back, right? It's almost like a chicken and an egg deal. But again, that's where your leadership's got to come into play and figure out how you want to set it up. Dealer, factory, fleet lease sales, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Drafts, don't worry about drafts. Drafts are something of yesteryear. Almost everything that we do at Manheim is done by wire transfer. We still have a few, high risk may be a strong word, but we have high risk dealers that we prefer to still get, we'll still do the wire, but we don't release the car until we get our money.
Yeah,
Okay?
they're on that list.
It's affects the internet on auto auctions. Definitely big. I remember back in I guess around 98 or 99, they stuck that board up there in front of the auctioneer and said, now when that light flashes, that's going to be someone bidding online.
I bet they were
And
like,
I mean, all the
what?
dealers were staring at the board instead of the auctioneer. I swear to God, there's someone in Atlanta pressing the button, making that light come on. We're like, no, we don't think it's going to work, but it did. Let's see. Effect of the internet, why so many lanes?
Because there's so many cars.
I mean, it really does. It varies. I mean, if you got to sell 10,000 cars, do you really want 5 lanes? Right? You want 40 lanes. And you need some damn good auctioneers, right? You can sell it. You got some really small auctions out there that just have 2 lanes, and they're damn good auctions. They really are. Facility is key. It really is. It really is. I'll tell you, the Dallas location was built in 1990. And I hope, if you ever want to come there, just let me know in advance so we can get you in the door. But honest to God, I'm not saying this, I should have taken some pictures of the inside. It looks brand new. When you walk in there, there's not a ceiling tile on it that has a water drop on it. The tile looks phenomenal, the counters are clean. Our bathrooms do not look like Louisville. I do not have granite, no matter how hard I try to get them to put some granite in there. If we're lacking somewhere, it might be there. But you want to make sure you have a really clean facility. I love this, large enough and secure. Secure should not, from a dealer standpoint, they just want to show up and do business and go home.
Yeah.
But from a client perspective, when you start signing on these major clients, these OEMs, these factories, right? Factory clients, these major banks and things like that, guess what? They want to come out to your facility and they want to look at everything. They want to look how this data is being stored. They want to know the security of the data. And I'm even talking about digital data. I'm not talking about the car out a lot as much as I am talking about digital data. Maybe who they repoed it from, you get the PII. All right? Anybody here not know what PII is? Personal information?
Oh.
So when they repoed this person's car and they brought it to the auction, what do you think's inside that glove box?
Oh, yeah.
Their address,
All their
their
stuff.
insurance card, their name, their mail, some things I don't even want to tell you about.
Yeah. Like what y'all
Right?
found in the parking lot last night?
Okay, but there's a lot of PII in these cars, and they want to know how we handle it. Okay, all that stuff goes through a shredder. We gotta make sure we clean out the glove boxes, make sure that information just doesn't get thrown in a dumpster, right? So, and then you also have the traditional brick and mortar sale or security of the facility as well. But there's a lot behind the scenes. Food available. If you have a sale, I don't care if it's an estate sale, auto auction sale, or whatever, but people show up at 9, 10 in the morning and they get hungry about 11 or 12, and you still got 2 hours of sale to go. How are you going to keep your people there? Better have some food and drinks for them. Better have some facilities for them. So just think about that anytime you're going to hold people past a lunch hour. Key people, auctioneers at the top, Riemann, right where they should be, number 2 in line. Block clerks. Block clerks. So we got kind of creative. We actually have if you went over to the sale over in Fort Worth, we have an upstairs. It's got about 20 cubicles. And there's block clerks. And they're clerking the sale. They may be clerking the sale in Dallas in the morning. They may start on the East Coast, where they're clerking sales off the East Coast. And then those sales wind down. They start sales in the central United States, and those sales wind down. They finish out their day selling and clerking cars off the West Coast. It's all done online. But the clerk's job is really important. They're listening in on an auctioneer, and if the auctioneer takes a bid in the lane, they're advancing that bid by the increment, and that increment can change, right? Start off the sale, you're at $250, and $500 would get $750 would get $9,000. At some point, you're going to drop to a $100 bid. Well, if that clerk increments it by $250, then the online bidder can't bid where the auctioneer is asking. So, registration clerks, title clerks. We'll talk about title clerks. Remember I told you how important it was for the vehicle entry to be right? Mm-hmm. Titles. That title's the cash. That title is cash.
Title is.
I had a situation where I get a phone call. They say, hey, can you meet us over here in Dallas? I think we got some forgery titles. So I drive over there. Now I want you to think about this. The title clerk does what all day? Touches paper, touches the title. It's like someone that handles currency at a bank. When you get handed a counterfeit bill, after looking at millions and millions and millions of dollars, when you get the fake one, it just feels different and it looks different. You can't even maybe point it out. And there's certain things on currency you can look at in those dollar bills to try to look at different things on them. Same thing with a title. So here's a 20, 30-year-long tenured title clerk, and she says, I think I got a bogus title. She had 3 bogus titles. The first thing that started off with me, anybody here from Arkansas? I think it's Arkansas. Arkansas is a cool state. Second retirement state. I tell you about to retire. Florida's number 1. I heard Arkansas is number 2 to retire. Arkansas is cool.
I can't believe that.
I'm dying to tell a joke, but I'm not going to do it.
Do it. Do it.
So if you're married in Arkansas
Uh-huh.
and you get divorced, you are not getting divorced, but you can still legally be brother and sister. Few words now. All right, just kidding. All right, the paper, the titles were red. The titles were red. Well, a good title, if you have cars in Arkansas, what color are your titles?
They're all Missouri titled.
Oh, you're Missouri
They're
title.
Missouri titled, we just moved there.
Okay, they would be blue like Texas, but they were red. Well, red in Texas is salvage. I was like, why are they red? So it's got to looking at it a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. These 3 titles totaled $126,000 in cash for the guy that sold them. I get the dealer into a little conference room where we have a nice chat, right? Doesn't believe in Jesus, he will when we get done. But, and I'm like, tell me again when you went to Arkansas and sold these 3 cars, how this ended up this way, right? And this was a veteran dealer. He'd been around for 20-something years. And he says, well, the guy wanted to meet him to buy the cars, and he turned around and sold them, and then he went back to get the titles. And I said, well, when you bought them, where'd you buy them at? He says, well, the guy wanted to meet me in a parking lot at a place up in Arkansas. And I said, why don't you meet him at the bank? He says, no, the guy didn't want to meet in the bank.
Well, no shit.
Well, there's a red flag. There's a clue, right? So anyways, long story short, he got hosed out of $126,000.
Ooh.
And yeah, there's more to that story, but it's too late at night. I'm
Okay.
moving forward. There's more to that story, but we'll just keep moving on. All right, so vehicle checking staff, drivers. Now, where are we going to find all these drivers to drive all these cars? And I'm telling you, we got some cars that are up there, some high-dollar cars, right? It just stupid things happen, right? The first car comes back around the auction and parks, and what do? They pop open the door.
Oh, my God.
And then the next car comes and it takes the door clean up.
No.
And they're looking at each other like, who's at fault? Right? Things happen. But take a look at your drivers. Some stuff is preventable. They had a lady that showed up twice a week to drive cars in our sale, and she did a great job for a long time. I show up to a motor vehicle accident on the lot, and she's got her foot in a cast. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't have worked. She just shouldn't have driven. You see what I'm saying?
She drove the car with a cast.
Yeah, and ended up in an accident. We have other jobs that she could have done for the day. I want her to earn a paycheck, right? I don't want someone that's injured just not to earn a check. I need them to do something, but I don't need her to drive. And that's what I'm talking about. Just take a look at your drivers. They're almost like on a circuit themselves, right? They end up over in Dallas, next day they're over in Fort Worth, the next day they're up here in Louisville, or some of them are. Just get a little circuit of drivers. Check riders. We don't write checks. Everything's done by wire now. A door greeter. You don't want me as a door greeter, right? You don't want the guy in charge of security in charge of your door greeting. You need something a whole lot prettier or more handsome. I want to have a little music going on. You want to have a welcoming, maybe some coupons hand out for the raffle, for the early bird draw to get them there, right? You want to talk about promotions and sales. Maybe you have a new client, right? Or maybe you got some VIP client coming in for a major client, right? Like we got Joe Rody coming in from JP Morgan Chase Bank. He only comes in once a year, and this is his trip. I want to have that banner out there. Welcome, Joe.
Welcome, Joe.
Welcome, Joe. And you want to have a welcoming committee for him. You want to make it special. He's only there once a year. You get one chance to leave a first impression. Right? Armed security, yes. Yes, yes, and yes. But you don't want to look militant, right? We have plainclothes law enforcement. We have marked uniform officers. And then you have people like me, and then I have some armed officers that work through a third-party security company, Allied Universal. We have both armed and non-armed with them. But you don't want to go somewhere where you're like, man, is this neighborhood this bad that they need all this, right? You want to be welcoming and smiling. Let security kind of run behind the scenes. Make ready. Recon shops, paint and body. There's absolutely, positively, unequivocally nothing that we can't do to a car at Manheim, Dallas.
Okay.
I don't care what it is. We can do it. And we're not cheap. A lot of dealers say, well, I can get it done for a lot cheaper. They can. I promise you they can. But I can have it purchased on Wednesday, have a set of tires and wheels, meanwhile I'll put a piece of glass in it, have it over at the paint and body shop to redo 2 bumpers, take them off the car and let them just go through the shop without the vehicle, right? And send the rest of the car over to the detail shop to come back together and get it all put together by Friday, and it can be on their lot on Saturday.
Wow.
A lot of people can't do that. We're a turnkey operation. If you want bed liners, you want graphic packages, you want wheel simulators, you want paintless dent repair, you want conventional body repair, I don't care what it is.
Wow.
We can do it. And if you want an extra key remote with that, we got the locksmiths on the property there too. So it's important to have all that stuff. Again, it's selling opportunities for the auction. How does the auto auction get paid? We get sell fee, buy fees, and reconditioning fees. I will tell you when we run I told you earlier when we get a car and we try to pre-sale certify it. So if it's a certified unit, we put our name behind it, so that drivetrain's good, we're going to charge you an extra $50. Okay? It's part of that pre-sale certification. You find something wrong with the drivetrain, you can arbitrate it. Again, on the post-sale inspection side, if the seller didn't have a pre-sale, we want to buy a post-sale inspection, we can do it that way as well. And then Manheim started something pretty creative called a Deal Shield. Deal Shield. A dealer can go on Deal Shield and return the car for any reason at any time. They don't even have to have a reason. They just don't want it. I bought the wrong car in line. Here, you can have it back. And there's some conditions to that. They can't pay over 103% of MMR. They can't. They have to do it within. They have to do it on sale day by a certain time. There's certain things that they have. They can get out of the car and we'll take it and resell it. Size of the industry today. This is a little outdated. God almighty, this is 2005. You know, we have a. She's not in here, but we have a newer one of these. We're over $100 billion. In 2019 was the last one I saw. We clipped 100 billion.
100
We're just gonna
million or
wrap it up.
100 billion?
Huh?
Billion.
B or M?
B.
Billion. $100 billion
What are
industry.
the questions on the test?
So we covered them, but I haven't seen the test in 20 years, but you gotta have a vehicle representative, okay? You gotta have a vehicle representative that tell you whether or
Okay.
not to sell that car, whether they're on the block or not, but you better have a vehicle representative.
E,
Vehicle representative.
Okay.
You gotta know what the lights are, right? The green lights are ride and drive, guaranteed
Okay.
drivetrain. A yellow light's for defects, whether it be the title of the car.
red,
The red light's gonna tell you you're buying it as is, and that blue light's for if the title's
Title.
in-house or not,
thank you.
okay? Pretty simple
So all
stuff.
4 lights are don't use to describe each vehicle, right? I mean, that's not like. my
There's
understanding.
one light per vehicle.
Okay, well,
Well, you can have multiple lights.
Yeah, one
Green light, ride
car.
and drive, and tell you the engine's good.
Yeah.
You turn on a yellow light and tell you the title's salvage,
Okay.
okay,
okay?
right.
The salvage title does not mean a bad car. It means it had something in excess of its percentage of its
Blue.
value. Like my daughter's car, right?
Salvage.
She got a little two-door black
Blue one.
Hyundai Elantra, and it
No,
got
not at all.
$7,000 worth of damage done on it, and she's like, man,
So those are the only 2 things that are on the test?
no, sir. When did auto auctions really kick into gear?
1930.
1930s.
1930s, right? Old Henry Ford was leasing vehicles.
Okay,
Those are some things you might want to know. I want to move forward, because I got to do something here, and I really want to get you guys out of here. So around you, you see these pictures, you see these gavel plaques and things like that. This guy here, Michael, is actually, he wasn't in my class, but I think he was well after mine, but he's a graduate of the Auction Academy. And he's the one that does all these plaques. He has a pretty good deal. But every class, they have someone that kind of takes the lead on this. And all you got to do is call Michael. I encourage you to call him tomorrow, get the ball rolling. I don't know what plaques cost today. I think I'd be lying to you if I told you, but I'm gonna guess about $200. What do you got in here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 20 people, about $10 a piece, right? And you guys can get your school plaque done. Anybody want to be volunteered or voluntold to handle this?
of course.
I got 2 of you. I'll say yes. I got 2 of you.
Either one of y'all. One of the
I
ladies.
do it,
I got it.
So
All right.
Responsible
Hey,
lady.
I mean,
So-
yeah,
what she's gonna need is to number 1, make sure she can spell your name for the plaque. And then number 2, she'll call Michael tomorrow and get something going, but then she's gonna have to collect the funds. And like I said, it should come out to about 10 or 15 bucks a head. I haven't priced a plaque in a long time. And then what I'd like for you to do is present this to Mike and Lori on the last day.
okay.
You'll probably, if you call them tomorrow, you'll get it back long before the last day. You just gotta keep it under wraps. But the last day, we'll do a presentation, and it's, I said memorialized, it sounds like a funeral, but it's really about this class. Hopefully, y'all are networking, you've changed Facebook, email addresses, things like this. I'm a security guy. I still get phone calls. I got a phone call from a couple out of church down in Midlothian where I used to live, and they said, hey, it's 3 siblings, 2 daughters and a son. Their mom and dad passed away within 30 days of each other. They have a 10-acre lot up here in Oklahoma City, or outside Oklahoma City. They lived on the property, and it was one of the things unique about it, had an RV repair shop that was recognized by insurance companies, right? And they asked me to go up there and take a look at it and sell it. I don't have time in my life for that. I'm not a real estate guy, right? It's not what I do. But I happen to know, did y'all met Scott Swinson? So I called Swinson, called Mike and said, hey, anybody run up to Oklahoma and take a look at this deal? They ran up there, they looked at it, they talked with the siblings down here in Texas, and long story short, it wasn't a bad thing, but the two daughters decided that they didn't want to take the property to auction, they wanted to sell it by traditional real estate. The market was declining at this time, and I just wrote it off, like, hey, I got a phone call and I passed it along. I had totally forgotten about that property. A year later, my wife goes and gets the mail, and she goes, Bill, there's a check in here for you from Scott. Now, she knows of Scott, but Scott doesn't normally write me checks. And it had a little yellow post-it note, a little handwritten note saying, thanks for the call, right? And I looked at that check and looked at Mama and I said, buy you a new set of shoes, let's go. So, but my point is, all I did was pick up a phone. And you'd be surprised at how many times that happens. I don't look at y'all as competition. I know Doak said every time a ringman goes to be an auctioneer at a purebred sale, he's got competition. I look at us as a pie, and we're growing the pie, right? That's what we are. And you're going to be offered jobs, and when you do, if someone gives you a referral, take care of the person that referred you, right? And that's what I mean by grow the pie network. You guys are not the competition. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's my bedtime.
Mine too.
Well, thank you all. I know it was a packed, long day, but done a lot of good stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the morning at 8. Enjoy your night. Huh? No, tomorrow, remember, tomorrow is